Many of y'all know Spencer and I are expecting a baby in June after a couple of years of infertility and loss. We went to our first doctor's appointment where we found out that I was 6 weeks to the day. The baby was perfect. There was a heartbeat, but it was not perfectly located in my uterus. It was in the left horn of my uterus, and that was called a hormonal pregnancy. We were told that if the baby grew in that location, that there was a really big chance that it would rupture and die, and then I could die as well. And if I didn't die, then I would probably never be able to carry children because my uterus would be damaged. The doctor told us to come back in a week and to see if the baby moved, and the baby did not move. He talked about terminating the pregnancy, which was not okay because there was a heartbeat, and we couldn't imagine taking a living, breathing baby out of my uterus. So we waited a week, and during that week, there were so many prayers, We were prayed over, prayed for. The baby was prayed for. Numerous churches and even churches throughout different states were praying. There were people fasting. There were co-workers praying for us. It was just the amount of prayers for this child was undescribable, still is to this day. A student overheard my dad talking to a colleague at Franklin Parish High School, and the next day she brought this card, and inside this card was this prayer cloth. And this prayer cloth had been prayed over by every member of their church, from the pastor to the men and the women and the youth. And in that card, she told us to put that prayer cloth where I thought the baby was. So I did. Every night, every day, I kept that prayer cloth where we thought that baby was. And as the week ended and it came time to go back to the doctor, woke up that morning, didn't go to work, and all I could do was just pray. And in the prayers, I prayed and more so just talked with God. I said, God, I know you love this baby, and this baby ultimately is your child, just like I'm your child. And I want your will to be done with this child. And I said, I know that even if it doesn't go the way Spencer and I want this to go, because obviously we want to be able to hold this baby and love this baby here on earth and teach this baby things, I know one day I will see it, and you've already touched so many lives through this baby. So I prayed that a peace would be just over us and just over me, that when we made it to that doctor, that I would just still be wrapped in God's peace. And in that instant, God just touched me, and I knew right then that no matter what, even if it wasn't what Spencer and I wanted, everything was going to be okay. And we made it to the doctor, and we met our ultrasound lady. And this lady was not very nice the last week before. She was not very optimistic about this pregnancy or our baby. And she looked at me and she said, I remember seeing your name. And I saw your name today, and all I could do was just dread when I was going to have to do this ultrasound. And then she stopped and she said, let's hope things are better. And I said, well, we've been praying, and prayer is a lot different than just hoping. I said, there's been so many people praying for this baby. And I explained to her about how many people were praying. I explained to her about the prayer cloth, and I could see right then that she just knew maybe, there was a chance for this baby, and it just really touched her. So as she went to do the ultrasound, I had the prayer cloth in my hand. She just kind of stopped in shock, and she's like, your baby has moved. And it's still to the left of your uterus, and it's still high, but it's moved, and the baby's heart rate was 136 that day. And in that moment, I remember looking up at her and telling her, God can do great things. This is what my God can do. Because she wasn't thinking that was going to happen, and she made that a point to us the week before that she really didn't think that baby was going to move. Because scientifically, that baby wasn't supposed to move, but God moved that baby. And then I also asked her to show me, because I was having some pain, because I do have a cyst on my ovary, and we knew that, and we were watching that, where the baby was located, and if I was feeling the baby or my cyst. And she took her hand and she touched my stomach. She said, well, this is where the baby is. And all I could do was smile, because that's where that prayer cloth had been laying. That exact location, that exact spot is where that prayer cloth had been laying. So after we met with her, we went and seen the doctor, and he was really excited, because his words to us that previous week were simple. He said, all we can do is pray and hope that baby moves. He said, that's all we can do. and he wanted to see us back the next week. At the new doctor's appointment, we went and had our ultrasound, and the first thing the ultrasound tech told us was that the heart rate was 169 and that the baby was centered in my uterus perfectly. So after that, we went and met with our doctor, and he was so excited, and we were too, and just so thankful that God allowed this baby to move and to use this baby. And he told us, he said, I don't see why I can't see you back in 4 weeks. And though we miss seeing this baby every week, we are so thankful that we don't have to. And I just want to use this time, Spencer and I, both of us do, just to thank everyone that has been praying for this baby, that have prayed for this baby, and that are continuing to pray for this baby. And we're just so thankful that we serve a living God who does miracles every day.
So we pour out our praise.